Alright, so couple days ago, a friend of mine who I haven't seen since February because he moved across the country made a cameo surprise appearance. Apparently, he and like my roommates have been planning this for a while. He's like, "Yeah, don't tell anyone else I'm coming. I want to surprise like the whole crew, but I need a couple people to know I'm coming so they can pick me up and shit." So like we're starting our Pathfinder session on Saturday, like Saturday night around like 6, 7 or so. And then he just walks in through the door. And, everyone's just like super excited. We were so happy to see Billy. And, everything got delayed, of course, but it was just so fun to see him again. He's like, "Oh, yeah, like I made a character for this. I've been planning, like I want to hang out with everyone." So we weren't able to finish the session. So we ended up having to finish it yesterday because today is Monday. So we ended up finishing it on Sunday. So this is another week where I really didn't get to watch games because I was busy, like with the guys. But so before the session, we go to a ramen shop. It's me, my two roommates, and Billy. So we go to a ramen shop, have a good time. Ramen is very good. And there's a vintage stock, like 2 seconds down the road. Like they're in like the same like little strip mall. Everyone's like, "Hey, like let's go to vintage stock. We're already here. We might see some cool stuff." I'm like, I don't want to. Nothing against vintage stock, but two reasons. One, if I go in, I know I'll end up finding something, and like, I don't really want to spend money. And I know I will if I go. Can I not? And two, I really want to go home and play more Kuro before the session starts. But it's 3 against 1, and like, alright, I'm not gonna be that guy. If we all want to go, let's go. So we go in, kind of looking around, like, alright, like, here's some of their figures. Nothing I'd particularly want. It's like a games. I don't have any games on my radar at the moment that I really want. You know what? Let me look at the DVDs. Like, let me look at the, like, anime movies, Blu-rays, all that shit. Because I like collecting stuff. I like having a shelf. I have a lot of anime movies, just, like, collections of shows that I watched. I enjoy that. I really like collecting shit. Ever since I was a kid, and like, Pokemon was a thing. I mean, not just the gotta catch 'em all aspect of the game, but I love collecting Pokemon toys. I love collecting Pokemon cards. I mean, I roll gacha in Fate Go all the time, so I just like collecting stuff. Anyways, point. So I'm kind of looking at that as like, is there anything, like any particular show or movie I'd be looking for? Well, over the past, I think we finished in like mid to late August, but my roommate Jose and I were watching all the Studio Ghibli movies, including Nausicaa. And I was like, there's one in particular that I don't own that I would really like. And that was this, Whisper of the Heart. So I think before we actually started the marathon, I had probably watched a good like 6 or 7 of the movies, which I think officially is 21, and then Nausicaa, they weren't technically Ghibli at the time, but like the people who worked on these movies worked on that one, so as far as I'm concerned, it kind of counts. I think including that, it's 22, so I'd watched like a good chunk, maybe about a third or so. Of all the movies I hadn't seen, Whisper of the Heart was by far my favorite. I think I have the movies ranked in like 6 different tiers. There's like bottom tier these are just the ones I didn't like. They just kind of didn't quite do it for me. I think it's okay. Really good, but didn't quite love it. Loved it. Movie that really resonated with me on a personal level. And then the highest tier is just, this is quite possibly my favorite movie of all time. In like a very short list of movies that could even fall under that tier at all. Whisper of the Heart to me is a tier 2 movie. As someone who loves writing, coming up with stories, just that joy of creation, of coming up with an idea, toying with it, and then getting to that point where you start putting pen to paper, or I guess finger to keyboard, and you start to see it come to life and take shape. And even some of the ideas that you initially had, you're like, I really like this. This is how this character is. And now you start writing it, you're like, oh, I was completely wrong. This person is very different from how I initially imagined them. And that kind of works. Or just things you would never thought of, like as you're contemplating the story. just kind of happen as you're writing. You're like, how the fuck did I not think of that? That makes so much sense. I love that shit. And that is what this movie is about. It is about being a creative person. And it's like when that passion starts to form. I absolutely loved it. And so I was like, yeah, I want to see if I can find a copy of it. So at first I was like looking in like one area because they're arranged alphabetically and I wasn't able to find it. And I was like, man, that kind of sucks. Oh, the Blu-ray section. Maybe I could find it here. And then I got it and I was really happy. I was like, all right, I got my purchase. I'm good to go. Then as I kept walking, just like walking to leave the aisle, I saw this. This is Iroduku, The World in Color, which came out, when did it come out? Like 2017, 2018, something like that. It was when I was like actively trying to watch seasonal anime. I'd be like, all right, what's the stuff coming out this season? All right, this looks kind of cool. This looks kind of cool. All right, here's the like 10 shows I'm going to follow. And then as it goes on, I'll be like, all right, I'm not really feeling this one. Or like, I keep forgetting to watch this. Screw it, I'll maybe watch it later. But I was actively watching it when it came out. And I absolutely loved it. Like, I saw it on the shelf, neurons activated, just fucking grabbed it. The short version of the plot is Hitomi is a girl with such severe depression, the color is literally sapped from her life. She sees completely in monochrome. And she's talking to her grandmother, who is a witch. And she's like, you know what? I know you're not doing well, and I want to see you be happy. So I'm going to send you on a journey. I am going to send you to the past. I don't remember the number of years. It was like 80-something years, 90-something years. Like, I'm going to send you to when I was a teenager. I think he told me he's like 17, 16, somewhere in that range. Like, I'm going to send you to where I was that same age. You're going to hang out with me. You're going to hang out with my friends. You're going to hang out with my family. And we're going to see if we can, kind of make you happy. And that's more or less the plot. She hangs out with her grandmother's friends, and it's not like, oh yeah, they go on these like crazy, wacky adventures with magic. It's, from what I remember, a lot more low key. And I remember just as I was watching, I was like, these characters aren't super complex, but I like them. These are all like really likable people. I kind of like the way they interact with each other. Is this a story that's like, oh man, I'm on the edge of my seat, I gotta know what's gonna happen next? No. But I liked it. I was very invested the entire time. There is a bit of a reveal in the like very ending of the show. And it was one of those that was like, that never even crossed my mind that could happen. But it makes perfect sense. And it was like, the whole show to me is just incredibly sweet and kind of lovable. And that little bit at the ending was like, that was just the cherry on top. It's like, that's when it goes from sweet to diabetes inducing. But I love shit like that. I am a total sucker for stuff like that. But the thing to me that really makes the show special, that made it it's on the shelf, I'm adding it to mine, is the use of color. Especially in the early parts when, she does only see in monochrome. But there'll be those moments where something is just completely in color, and it's so striking. I loved it. It was just such a good watch. I would love to watch it again, especially on like Blu-ray where it's probably all enhanced and shit. I am excited. I am so glad I found a copy of it. Because I was like, okay, I got the thing I wanted. I got something else in addition to that. That's cool. I am ready to go. And Clay, being the son of a bitch that he is, finds this. The Trails in the Sky OVA, which I have not seen. I have not heard good things about it. I've heard that like the pacing of it is really weird. That, some major characters are just not included. It doesn't cover the entire plot. Like, it's, from what I understand, it kind of like starts, I think it starts at the start of the second game, and it doesn't even cover the whole second game. Like, that's so fucking weird. But Trails in the Sky is my favorite game. I played it last year. I've played a lot of JRPGs. It's my favorite genre of video game. I've played some Final Fantasy games. I've played Tales games. I've actually never played Dragon Quest. I really should at some point. Trails was the first time I played a JRPG and said to myself, I need to play every game in this series. Now, granted, that's because the whole thing is one giant sprawling narrative, and like Tales, Final Fantasy, it's just like, alright, this is its own game. It might have some like sub-games to it. Like Final Fantasy 7 is essentially its own series at this point. But for the most part, it's just like, no, it's like you can play the game, maybe a second one, and then you're Gucci. Trails is, no, there's like 10 of them. And each arc can be enjoyed more or less separately from the others, but if you've played them in order, things will make more sense. Like when a character shows up, if you haven't played it, you're like, oh, okay, I don't know who this person is, but they seem kind of cool. And if you play the other games, you're like, holy shit, it's the Leo meme where he's just like, which I love that meme, by the way, but like, that is what it feels to play Trails in order, and I fucking love it. So I played Cold Steel 1, and I was like, this is a good game, I'll play the others eventually. Played Cold Steel 2 and said, okay, I need to play the other games before I get to 3, because some stuff from the other games has already been alluded to and kind of spoiled. Let me do this. But do I really want to go and play another Trails game right away? Because I've got a lot of other stuff I want to do, but I've heard Sky is really, really good. Alright, let me play the first Trails in the Sky. Let's kind of see how we go. And I really, really, really liked it. And then I got to the ending. As soon as I got to the ending, I realized, okay, I'm playing the second one immediately. And it was a fucking experience. I cried at the end of the first game. I cried 4 times playing the second game. It is my favorite story in a video game. It's one of my favorite stories, period. Like, Sky specifically. I like the entire Trails narrative. But, like, to me, it's one of those games, like, everything works. I love the plot. I really, really love the cast. The music is phenomenal. What made me realize this is my favorite video game is I was trying to write up, like, a review for it. Be like, alright, let me talk about the second game in particular. Because I had done one for the first game. It's like, let me talk about the second game. This is, like, how the gameplay works. This is what I like or dislike about it. Same with the narrative, same with the, like, presentation, the graphics, the music, and shit. And as I was talking about the soundtrack, I was like, okay, this is why I really like this song. Not only does it just sound good, but this is kind of what it represents to me. This is how it works in the narrative. And as I was talking, and it wasn't just one song in particular, there was like 6 that are like that. As I was just like, this is why this song is so good to me. This is why, like, when it shows up in the first game, it's cool. And then when it shows up in this game, it is so, like, emotionally impactful. I was on the verge of tears talking about it. And at that point, Persona 5 had been my favorite game. Like, Royal specifically, because, like, 5 was my favorite game, and Royal was just, oh, it's the same, but a little bit better. Like, this is my favorite game. I can talk about Persona 5, either version, without almost crying. Apparently, I can't do that for Sky. As phenomenal as Persona 5 is, it doesn't hit me as hard as this does. This is my favorite game, isn't it? So, when I saw the OVA, I was like, I've heard it's not good, but I have to give it a watch. I have to put it on the shelf. So I went from, I don't want to go in, I don't want to spend money, to, well, shit, it looks like I got myself a bit of a haul. But I thought that was a fun experience, so I thought I'd share it. Yeah, I don't know when I'm going to get my week 4 reaction video out, because again, I really wasn't able to watch games. So this is mostly just based off what I've seen from highlights, kind of what I've seen in the box score. And, you know, it's like, I would try to follow games live. Be like, alright, this is kind of what the score is right now, this is what the score is right now. So I was able to tell which games were consistently close, which were blowouts but led to big comebacks, which led to kind of almost comebacks, like how close some of the games were before one team pulled away. So I'll try to talk about that as best I can. But, we'll see when we get to do it. Until then, bye.